Hey everybody, I'm Brigadier Charles and welcome to Wargame Red Dragon. Let me just do that. We are playing Jungle Lord 2v2, myself and GDAlley versus the rather fantastic Agent Smith and Bacon. Now, we're both, again, Blue 4 GDAlley with a British deck and myself with my Sockham deck. This deck which I'm working on, and again, I learned some things in this game which we'll go over, which definitely need an improvement. So first thing I did was throw up attack markers. So my idea was for Ali to seize Echo fairly aggressively, put up helicopters at least into the back end of Echo, and then push forward into the front. Seize this area with tanks or ATGMs in these buildings and these woods, so that the enemy has no line of advance to support their attack here. And then to defend this area and these woods with ATGMs, manpad, AA, and some tanks. So that certainly would have been my approach, and also to deploy out to this area fairly aggressively up to here. Recon infantry, recon helicopter maybe in this area, and maybe a tank or two or some infantry just to cover this approach. Now the idea was that I would rush up my helicoptered infantry to this town, take this town, and then I planned on seizing this little bit of woodland here and pushing up through here to clear this out so that I could effectively control Mike. I was going to seize this immediately, and then if need be, line these sorts of curved tree lines with ATGMs and SAMs. So I went here. The idea was to do the rush up. So I took as the assaulting corps 6 Marines in Twin Hueys, Marine 90s, and then 2 OH-58Cs for their very cheap price of 45 points. They are a fast helicopter which carries 4 Stinger missiles per helicopter. For my land-based force, which I was going to use to assault Mike and secure Foxtrot, I have a Humvee Mark 19 with its grenade launcher and recon, and then 4 Pivads and 2 M1IP Abrams. I felt that that would provide more than adequate anti-aircraft cover and the potential to deal with any enemy tanks. And then a TACOM squad in this UH-60A to take Foxtrot. Whilst leaving command here, GDAlley has taken 4 squads of not reservists, Fusiliers 90 or Territorials, I can't remember, I think it's Fusiliers 90 in their Lynx AH1s. He then has 2 blowpipes in these Lynx AH7s, 2 Milan F1s in these Lynx AH7s, a Green Jackets squad in these Puma HC1s and ADATs, 2 Lynx AH1 CPs, a Chinook for resupply, and a very lonely looking Rapier. So let's look at the opponents. So here we have Agent Smith, who is moving up with some, I believe, Moskoya Pechot or Moskoya Schmeck, whatever they're called, in their BTR 80s, a BTR 70 with some not Bantank faggots, with some ATGMs, a Strela 10M, an Mi-24A here, which I believe has set SNAS in it. Very, very good aircraft that. They are leaving behind an Mi-8 TV to secure India, and then he'll be sending up a Tunguska M and a BTR 80 and a BTR 70, 1 manpad and 1 infantry squad. Their idea as well is to defend this little town, which is a very good idea, and then to defend a hotel. Personally, I like to be a little bit more aggressive, but you're going to see that absolutely backfire for me, as my helicopters moving up to this area are going to run into 2 Strela 10Ms, 3 BTR ZD Shkrezits, which are excellent troop transports with a brutal 23mm AA autocannon, and then 3 BTRDs. These have a combination of VDV and SETSNAS in them. This Su-27, this Yak, we'll do this first. So throwing out a very expensive AA aircraft first as cover, and then this Yak-38 to try and stop my vehicles advancing through here. Luckily for me, I did not have any land-based vehicles. Unluckily for me, these helicopters are going to get completely destroyed. Magically and mysteriously, 1 Marine survives. I have no idea how that happened. I didn't even realise infantry could survive helicopter crashes. However, my Twin Hueys in the back do disgorge their 30 Marines, and these Twin Hueys miraculously escape on 1 point of damage each, with their Marines still inside. I initially got a little bit too zealous with these OH-58Cs, and then realised there was no point pulling them forward, and just kind of pulled them back to a slightly safer distance. However, I do get completely knobbed on this flank by a KO-52 with its anti-radar missiles, and then this a KO-50 Akula with its SALH missiles. Now, I thought, bugger, I'll turn off my pivads. Didn't realise he was out of AA missiles, and then this Akula knocks out both of these pivads eventually, and one of my M1IPs. So instantly I've given away something in the region of 150 to 175 points. This M1IP Abrams does a decent job all game though, and does manage to survive. Spoiler alert. These two OH-58Cs I send out to try and deal with this enemy aircraft, firstly not realising that they both have Igla missiles. Bacon there gets a little bit worried. Now, I don't know why he's worried, as he can quite happily take out these OH-58Cs, and he signals help. I believe he probably assumed that I had an awful lot more armour and vehicle support than I did, and had I been a bit more aggressive, obviously I didn't have any recon, I could probably have jumped up into these woods and secured myself a much better start to the game. So these OH-58Cs that I've moved up, I'm splitting off to try and see if the helicopters are here or up here, and this is a terrible idea because they're unable to support each other. So by this point they realise what's going on, and they send in these Akulas, or these KA-50 and this KA-52, knock out the first one, and they're simply going to bring in this Su-27 PU to knock out the second one. No, oh, are they not? Oh, I'm quite shocked. I've actually managed to get a hit on the Su-27, and they're going to very wisely evac him. However, the KA-52 there, knocking it out at last. These two helicopters really do put a spanner in the works for myself this game, and they were not only were they used very, very well, but they were used very intelligently in the right places. So I've moved up my Abrams and my pivads into this little wood in the corner, hoping to at least be able to hinder the enemy and prevent them assaulting properly. And in the background you can see I'm moving up a few Humvees with infantry in them, some more Humvees here, just overtaking that Rapier, with some Stingers which I'm going to deploy into Golf just to secure it. GDAlley here has managed to do a good job of seizing Echo, and has actually managed to get some Green Jackets up to here, where they are spotting a couple of things, but not really doing anything too useful. We did not do our recon very well this game, and so here you can see GDAlley moving up reinforcements to take or to secure Echo properly. I believe this is more Milan. Now he's very fond of using Milans. In this deck he uses an awful lot of tanks in the form of Challenger 1s of various types, so I think he could have gone a lot lighter on the Milans and packed in more of his infantry and some better AA, because these blowpipes, they're very cheap. I think they're 10 points a unit, but they're absolute crap. They're completely useless. They do not hit very often, and they don't do an awful lot of damage when they do hit. And then you put them in a helicopter and they become even more expensive. If I was going to take blowpipes, I would just have shoved them in some Stollies or something cheap. And this is a big part of the game. You can see that Agent Smith here has managed to get Cessna's VMF into the woods behind GDAlley, or on the flank, and he's been exceptionally intelligent. He's turned off all of their weapons, and I believe he was doing a very good job of kind of direct controlling them and micromanaging them. And what he's going to do is he's going to bring them all the way down here. They're going to hop through here. They're going to come up and around this mountain. They're going to come down into here, across into here, I believe, and then they're just going to keep hopping all the way across until they end up here, and then down there. And they're going to cause us so much grief and hassle. We had no idea that they were there. And it's just going to allow Smith to direct in Bacon's artillery strikes with pretty devastating accuracy, hitting units to the point where GDAlley, because we were both unaware that the enemy had this recon in the back, to the point where GDAlley gets suspicious that they were hacking, and I simply tell him no, they've probably either got recon or they're getting lucky. So this Chinook not really doing any good whatsoever here. It's a very expensive resupply unit to bring in from the beginning. But really, if you're going to have it, have it up somewhere around here, possibly, where the enemy's not really going to get any direct shots on it, but where you're going to be able to bring in, you know, your ADATs, infantry in here would have been really useful for Alex, and then your various tanks. These helicopters really just sitting at the back here, not helping at all. The AH-7s especially are such useful support helicopters with their SNEB launchers, that it would have been great to see Alex bringing them up to cover his infantry and cover maybe a push to the far side of Echo. The AH-1s, whilst they only have an L-37 machine gun, which is not very useful, it would have been really good to see them kind of covering his flanks just to make sure that the enemy doesn't do what they're doing. However, I wasn't really paying attention to GDAlley's side of the game, as I was too busy trying to reinforce myself and back myself up and think about how I could push an attack. So I'm bringing up these two twin Hueys, really, really cool aircraft. I love Hueys, I'm not sure why, they're just very emotive to me. Not emotive, they're cool. Hueys are cool. So I'm bringing them up, and they've got a couple of small squads in them, which are just going to be deployed into this town to take out any advancing enemy armour or APCs. And I'm going to be much more intelligent than I was, and I'm going to drop them off here and move them up by foot. It takes a little bit extra time, but it is not worth risking all of your infantry and your helicopters just to get them deployed to target a few minutes quicker. As you can see, I took up these Humvees, and the reason I like Humvees is, especially at this point in the game where the enemy's pulled out an awful lot of AA, you can move your infantry up in a much more safe fashion to the area you want to deploy them, their deployment zone, at high speed, without risking getting shot down. And even if they do get blown up, the infantry are going to be shocked, but they're unlikely to get killed. So I really wish I had some infantry other than Delta Force, frankly, in Humvees on this deck. So that's something that I end up having to change on this deck afterwards, is probably to ditch the Delta Force and bring in some better infantry, 90s infantry in Humvees or APCs, because the Delta Force are good, and they're particularly good, I think, in a street fight when they're not up against Setsnaz with napalm launchers. But that M72 Law is not great, and it doesn't do a lot this game for me. Their MP5SD is a really good SMG, but it's an SMG, it lacks the range. Same goes for the M60E3. Their Delta Force, I think, are suited to an urban environment against other infantry. However, they're not so good as to be able to take on an equal number of Setsnaz. Yeah, so, and I think maybe infantry with a Dragon launcher, even though the Dragon's not great, or a Law 80 or an M80 Law, whatever it's called, a more modern anti-tank gun would have been more useful for me in this game. Now here we missed it, but I was trying to be sneaky with my pivads, moving it out of and back into the woods to kill, there we go, this Mi-8 TV, which was moving up. No, that's not the Mi-8 TV, that's my OH-58C. I want to find it anyway. Nope, that's just a shadow. Well, there was an Mi-8 TV moving up into this area here, and I thought, right, I'll knock it out with my... It's again just a shadow. So I thought I'd sneak it up and knock it out with my pivads. Now I do manage to knock it out, but I sneak it up a second time to kind of make sure it goes down, and the Akula comes in. Now I think, it's the KA-52, it's got anti-radar, not realising it has no anti-radar left. So I simply switch off the radar, expecting the missile to whiz away. Unfortunately, it was the KO-50 with those Vickers missiles, and it just goes in and knocks it out. So my M1IP Abrams is left down here, below half health, feeling very, very lonely, but nonetheless confident, one would hope. And he's going to do a decent job of holding certain things up. Now you can see the enemy here moving up these nano SVK mortars, really good mortars, and it's nice to see somebody using them in a game when they're not just mortaring their own commands, or their teammates' commands. But they are going to move up these ASU 85Ms. Now, I would like to just have a quick rant about 10-point tanks, a positive rant, not a negative one. 10-point tanks like the ASU 85M or the 10-pointer that the Australians get, which I cannot remember, are really, really useful in the right situations. And those situations are not against things like an M1IP Abrams. They could all fire simultaneously at that Abrams. They may well take a point of health off. But by the time that they're all firing again, the Abrams has knocked 2 or 3 out. So you do not want to use them against proper tanks that are better. But where they can be extremely useful is what Bacon is going to do here, which is to deploy them into tree lines, into defensive positions, so that if an enemy does push up, these ASU-85Ms are going to knock out his AA, or they're going to knock out his infantry transports, which might have autocannons or ATGMs on them. And that's such a good use of these tanks, because, yeah, if you lose those tanks, that's 10 points a tank, that's nothing to lose. However, you've got the potential to provide an awful lot of suppressing fire and a weight of fire as well. It's not just that you want your fire to be extremely accurate, you want accurate fire, but you also want a bulk of fire, you want a density of fire, and you can achieve that by supplementing your more powerful units, things like your Conkers, with ASU-85Ms. It gives the enemy more targets to shoot at, more to kill, and more incoming fire. Even if you're just stunning the enemy, you're still making it more likely that you'll win. However, I think they may have forgotten my Abrams was there, or simply not spotted it, as I do just nudge my Abrams out of the wood and knock out a couple of these ASU-85Ms, which have just blooming disappeared. Where the hell are they? Ooh. So I'm just moving my headset around. There we go. So these two ASU-85Ms getting knocked out on their way into the wood. It's no surprise that an Abrams would knock them out. An Abrams is obviously a battle tank from the 1990s, even the M1IP with a 105mm cannon, and the ASU-85 is a battle tank from the Second World War, which has just been upgraded essentially. So the enemy here doing a very good job, Bacon especially, moving up his BTRDM Conkers 2s into the woods with the support of these very cool little trucks. Now, trucks, yeah, they're going to get knocked out by pretty much anything. However, these URLs have a 23mm autocannon on them, and they're just going to annihilate helicopters if I send helicopters in, which is why I'm being very cautious with these. Now, I was expecting these Akulas, the K-52, and helicopters to play a bigger role, as they often do with Redfall. However, these OH-58Cs are going to be pretty useless here. They're not going to get killed very much or anything at all. And this longbow has no tanks to shoot at. And is not even able to do very good recon. Another thing I will give to Bacon and Smith is that they did a good job of directing artillery in. So you can see here, I only moved these Avengers up a moment ago, and already they called in a mortar barrage right on top of them, spotting a potential threat and hitting it with whatever's free to do so. Even moving up this Yak 38B here, or this Yak 38, they're probably going to kill those M109s, M1097s. This Yak 38 here probably just coming in, there we go, dropping off a napalm strike in these woods where they thought my Delta Force still was. And, yep, we're going to see that MiG-29M kill both of my OH-58Cs. Really frustrating when that happened, because he just called in cluster munitions right on top, brought them both down. Very, very clever, very good use. And my longbow here, barely, well, just about avoiding being hit. And I get a bit overly cautious, I think, and I pull it all the way back, just not wanting to lose such an expensive unit. Really, I should have brought out a cheap piece of recon. Some infantry recon would have been even better. Now, on GDAlley's side, you can see an air-to-air engagement here with an Su-27PU and a BAC Strikemaster. Really lucky for GDAlley that the Su-27PU missed that shot, as it is actually a pretty damn good air superiority fighter. And you can see there, really, really awesome looking plane. Still with a lot of missiles on it. I mean, 10 missiles is an awful lot. When you think that the Eagles mostly get, I think, 8 missiles. So these green jackets pulling back. Again, he's done a clever job. He's turned off all of their weapons, pulling back to avoid contact with these VDV-90. VDV-90, who we've seen in my other game, can be extremely effective. GDAlley has actually been knocked out of this town. Again, I'm really sorry we missed that. I attempted to call in a Nighthawk strike to deal with these T-72As. However, the T-72As were moved, I didn't notice, and I simply killed off Estrella. Really frustrating, kind of a waste. Now, GDAlley has grouped up all of his helicopters at the back here. I'm really unsure why, as these Lynx AH-7s could probably have helped him keep hold of that town. Could definitely have knocked out or damaged those T-72As and caused those infantry hassle, and would be much more useful out here just in case he needs some instant fire support to be called in. Those snowball launchers are not to be underestimated. Now he's moving up another Challenger 1 Mark II here, and a tracked Rapier FSA. Again, some really good tanks, very heavy armour, great guns. However, what he needs now, actually, finally, is ATGMs in here, and then Stinger missiles in here in these woods. And he really needs to get stuff, just stuff out here. Lots of AA, and then tanks and so forth. Now, yeah, his Challenger Mark 1s are going to get off some shots against these T-72s, but they're not actually able to kill them before the T-72s retreat. They kill one, there we go. But the other one's just going to disappear into the woods, and the enemy's got two more here. So, not a really good engagement there, losing Echo, which knocked us down points-wise, which we didn't need to lose. And you can see the Setsnaz VMF here just being bypassed by these reinforcements coming in. And you'd think a Lynx AH-7, seeing the Setsnaz would stop and attack them, or at least we'd have spotted them, but we didn't. So the luck they had here, because it was a combination of balls, skill, and luck in that we were just not paying attention. We kind of assumed, as you would sensibly, that the enemy was not going to have anything back here, and we were too busy paying attention, myself especially, to this bloody wood, and to this area, just in time. Now I use my artillery and my mortars to smoke and hit this area, and I sent in a squad of 30 Marines. Oof, that's loud, sorry. I sent in a squad of two squads of Marines to try and take the town. However, I had no idea what was in there. Got ambushed by the VDV and the Setsnaz. My Marines got wiped out, and I timed my attack badly. I didn't send the Navy SEALs in, where actually their Hawk MM1 would have been perfect for dealing with these Setsnaz. And I didn't. And my other 30 Marines that I had, I sent them in too late. I should have sent them all in at the same time and just hit the enemy with big numbers. So that really for me was a bit of a waste, and I could have done without doing that. This F-15C Eagle, ooh, sorry about that, jerky camera, getting hit but getting away. Now earlier the enemy did drop a marker here, because I've been firing these M109s relentlessly, and I have not moved them. And that's RT101. The enemy, when you fire artillery, they will look for your cannon's muzzle fire, and they're going to fire back. So there we go. I noticed that rocket coming in from the Conkers M, and I pull back, or I unload my guys just in time. But the missile misses anyway. The problem with the Conkers 1M is it's very inaccurate, and the Abrams there just poking it and killing it. So my artillery is actually going to be pretty effective if it gets a hit on any of these Urals, because they are unarmoured, they're soft-skinned, they're just APCs. Now I wasn't aware of that. I assumed that the enemy would have lots of infantry in here, so I just decided to hit it with artillery anyway. And we're going to see another barrage coming in. Already killed one of the Urals, quite effectively damaged a lot of these other vehicles. But we're probably not going to be able to kill another one, unless... No, we're really not going to kill much more there. But I should have followed that artillery barrage up, probably with an assault. However, I've left... Oh, we're actually killing Estrella. I've left myself in a terrible position where I just have nothing to assault with. I've got an Abrams back here and an Abrams there, but this Abrams is no use over here. I've got this Humvee, which should be up in this tree line. However, I was worried that something was going to shoot out and kill me. I have a longbow, which should be slightly further forward so that it can actually spot things. You know, I should have had infantry up ready to assault. I should have had more tanks up ready to assault. However, now the enemy's had time to bring in these Mi-24Vs. Very, very effective with their Iglas and their rocket pods and their 50 cal miniguns. So there's no chance that I'm going to be able to assault that successfully with what I have there. And again, I just keep firing and I don't bother moving, which is so stupid on my part. And the enemy is just moving his sets now as across. He's got no problems. Nobody's really challenging him. Nobody's spied him. I am starting to move in some heavier AA. I'm getting a bit fed up with all the enemy aircraft constantly coming through and not getting hit. So I pulled out some of these 90-point pip 3s. Really effective AA, very accurate. Radar, yes, but very accurate, very powerful. When it hits, it tends to do quite a lot more damage than Stinger missiles. Although I do have a US Marine deck where I have some Stinger A's, I believe, and they're only 25 points, and I simply flood them. Loads and loads and loads of Stinger A's, so that you've got, again, that weight of fire. They can't be hit by SEAD at all, and actually Stingers are fantastic for helicopters. And then the Stingers will simply just cause quite a lot of damage to the enemy because there's so many shots being fired. The enemy throws away their Mi-24Ds here, and this Stinger squad knocks out 3 helicopters, one of which did have infantry in it, for absolutely no damage taken on my part. Again, at this point, it would probably have been a good idea to attack. The enemy there counter-battering with some heavy mortars, knocking out my Pip 3. Sorry, zooming in and out a little too fast. No, sorry, this is getting a little bit too loud. I should probably have done this earlier in the game. So let's just go audio, master volume down. Okay. Hopefully that will make the volume a little bit more bearable. Yeah, that's better. So overall, things just as a bit of a stalemate here. The enemy throwing away some helicopters there in an attack, but myself not really able to push at all. I am gradually moving up more stuff. These smalls here I unloaded, and I simply wasn't paying attention, so they're just sitting there waiting to be moved up into the town. I do eventually move them up, you see there. And smalls very, very useful. Finally moving up a Pip 3 here, but I've completely run out of missiles, fuel, and it's damaged as well. So really failing to keep up to check with my cargo, and I do realise that, and I do start to move stuff up. These Humvees here, they have Delta Force in them, and they're just not unloaded because I haven't noticed that they've arrived yet. And I should have grabbed them when they first got on the map and clicked a shift unload order. That would, because if you hold shift and then click your hotkey for say unload or land or whatsoever, then it means that that action will be carried out once the vehicle or the unit has carried out the first action you've set to it. Which is very useful because it means you don't have to micromanage as much when stuff is going to unload. So, yes, let's see. So GDAlley here has, again, he's not really been able to push back into Echo, which can be extremely difficult to take once it's from this side, once it's already taken. So if we look at this, if you want to assault directly, you've got to cross over this bridge, very narrow bridge. The enemy can put ATGMs in there, which they haven't done, or what they have done, which is put tanks in this tree line where they're concealed, put conkers in this tree line where they're concealed and protected, and they can simply fire down into the flanks as you're being hit by ATGMs. So this is a bit of a kill zone. Once infantry get to this point, to actually be able to see them, to shoot at them, you have to come over the ridge, but to attack you have to go over the ridge. So this is a terrible, terrible place to assault from. The only way that I could think it would work was if you had a very, very well timed extensive smoke barrage which just completely covered this area and rushed your guys up. However, I think you'd also have to follow the smoke barrage up with a napalm strike there, maybe, or an artillery strike, just to stun the enemy and prevent them from knocking your guys out as they come over the ridge into sight. Here, again, all these mortars, these LAVMs, clumped up, because the AI's just clumped them up, but they're all clumped up and I'm not bothering to move them when I attack, or when I fire. So they're just going to get spotted and artilleried. So we see these shells coming in now. The first two not visibly going off, they will have gone off, but we just can't see it. The second two there coming in, one going off, and you can see this is big artillery, you know, the explosion's bigger than my vehicles, and I will eventually realise what's happening and move them before they take a casualty. So Bacon there losing an aircraft, let's see if we can spot it. I believe he lost an aircraft, I might be wrong, no, it looks like he got away, took some damage from these various rapiers that GDAlley is quite you know, intelligently positioned. This one, is it moving up? Yeah, it's just moving up, that's fine. I thought he'd left it in the woods there. This tracked rapier is sitting out in the open, not really where I'd have put it. I'd have maybe put it here in this tree line where it's at least got cover. However, he's got lots of these challengers sitting in the trees, and it would have been nice to see a challenger moved up to this tree line, maybe with the recon up here, and another challenger moved up here, just so that this rapier can move up. See, had the rapiers been further forward, that Su-27M would not have been able to get its missiles off, which would have, which would have meant GDAlley did not lose what I believe is a 90-point Challenger 1 and the 5 brave souls inside. Yeah, so you can see here, this SNAS VMF has done a stunning job of spotting my little artillery park, and I was so stupid to leave this like that, and when the worst happens, I suffer for it, and I realise what went on. Sorry, I'm moving the camera about too much. So you can see this M15 CP just sitting where it was left deployed, not really moving it anywhere safe or out of sight, just sitting on the road enjoying the view. And all of these M109s, all 4 of them, 50 points each, 200 points worth of artillery, sitting right on top of my FOB, giving away their location every time they fire and not relocating. So really, really bad play by me. As you can see here, just quickly, the enemy, or what's it called, Bacon, has really left the woods and has decided to reinforce an attack through this line, which is very, very clever of him, just redirecting his attack. And the first smirch rounds coming in, knocking out my CV straight away, directly hitting my vehicles and my FOB, which is, I believe ends up taking... No, the FOB is not going to take any damage, but look. That was such a mistake on my part. Kind of completely needless. Losing all 4 of these artillery pieces and losing my CV here, so temporarily losing any reinforcements. So straight away, as soon as I saw that Smirch inbound, or that the Smirch had killed my CV, I loaded up my TACMs in Golf into these Humvees, not wanting to risk it getting shot down in a helicopter, so I loaded them up into the Humvees and I fast moved them back to what's it called? Delta. So again, just really leaving it go on my part, not paying attention. Now the enemy there does lose an Su-24 on that little attack run. There we go. Death on the mountainside, well, the hillside really. But they are going to knock out my Hawk Pip 3 with a very well placed mortar barrage. As soon as it fired, I should have moved it. That's their whole purpose of bringing it in. And I've probably exchanged a Pip 3 for an aircraft that was not worth much more than 100 points. The Delta Force in this area get completely wiped out, but the enemy do start to suffer losses here as they move up helicopters. And my Stingers are going to wipe out. There's 1 down, and 2 more did come down back here. These are going to get away, but the enemy is going to immediately call artillery in on my Stingers. Luckily, I noticed it coming in. I was starting to switch on at this point in the game. Too late in the game, but I was switching on. So I moved my Stingers up here. And I am trying to call in artillery on the infantry in here. Just missing, stunning the VDV a little bit, but really not doing enough damage. Now these Stingers are going to knock out a couple more helicopters. They've got 1 missile left, which I believe either misses... I think it actually misses, or they simply don't get to fire it. There we go. Now the enemy are going to fire position their rockets. Probably there they think that, oh, okay, well we've got them, we can move forward. However, they knocked out my small squad, not my Stinger squad. The Stinger squad now, however, completely unable to help as it is out of missiles. However, and I have no more AA left here. But I believe the enemy gets shot down by something a little bit bigger in this Hawk Pip 3. As you can see, I've tried reinforcing here. I've got some Humvee TOW2s, got an Abrams, I've got these Avengers sitting back here, more Avengers here, and I've got this longbow. But I'm just playing very badly here. I should have left a holding force of ATGMs and so forth around here under AA and concentrated on trying to break through in this area, hitting this place with our heavy artillery, hitting this with artillery. And I just didn't, but I moved up some pivots here, some radar AA, just to try and clear out any aircraft that come through or any potential infantry assault, because pivots will shred infantry if given the chance to fire. I have moved up Zippos as well, partly because they're cheap and any chance to use them is worth taking, but also because that napalm launcher can very effectively clean out woods in areas where infantry is a problem. Now these Cessnas are moving up here probably just to spot and just in case the enemy feels like an assault there. I've got s'mores here. The enemy never tries to assault through here. I'm quite fortunate in this sense, but we're going to jump over here quickly to see GDAlley moving up a couple of Lynx 3s. Now, each Lynx 3 costs 110 points, and it comes with 8 Hellfire missiles and 4 Stinger missiles. It's a very, very good helicopter. It's really, really useful, and you only get 4 of them. It's quite fast, and all that firepower and flexibility is really kind of very much needed at the minute for GDAlley with his current predicament. You see him here moving up some ADATs in support of them. I think he's gone for quite a lot of cheap AA and manpads and cheap infantry to allow him to afford more expensive tanks. However, you can see here, but he's put them in, again, expensive transports. These Lynx 3s moving up and, yeah, knocking out BTRD, but then they're going to get hit by a combination of the Strela and these BTR-90s. BTR-90s with a 30mm autocannon. The Strela getting knocked out, but the BTR-90 there just completely wrecking these 2 Lynx 2s. So really a 50-point Strela, maybe a 25-30-point transport aircraft, and a couple of 15-point transports. And in return he lost 210 points worth of very much needed helicopters, so really a big loss. And that is something our opponents in the chat afterwards, opponents who were, by the way, really, really friendly, really helpful when we asked for tips. They gave us tips. In the chat afterwards they said they were just shocked to see those Lynx 3s go down, and they even felt bad. But it's a learning curve. I did call in a A10 Warthog there, just in case the enemy moved tanks forward, but I pulled it out fairly quickly, realising it was a mistake. The Cessnas here have taken a loss, but they're still around and they're still spotting, and I'm still going to fire these and not bother to move them. Now, I do decide to move up an M1A2 Abrams. I'm thinking that I need something much more powerful to deal with the enemy. See the corpse of my old transport there. Now, this Abrams does jack shit, primarily because I use it badly, and again, I allow my M109s to get caught out. This time it was less because I didn't fire, because they've only just finished firing a bombardment, and much more so because this Cessna's VMF was already here, and that artillery, that Smirch barrage, was aiming in before I fired. And I'm going to lose a tank. I'll probably lose another one, I believe. There we go. So overall, I've lost 300 points worth of artillery here just from bad play. This Chinook is still sitting here. I'm really not sure what's going on with this. It's been here all game. I don't think it's moved at all. And GDAlley does not have an FOB. I've only just realised that he did not take an FOB. That's a shame to see that happen. And all these AH7s just sitting here, landed, bar these AH1s. Landed, really not doing any good. They could be so useful up here. And he's starting to throw out his Pumas here just to make sure the enemy doesn't get through, but as we know, it's far too late now. And I believe just a little too much AA here. AA that is getting spotted and hit by artillery. This is nice for a change to see his Lynx AH7s moving up, providing fire support to allow his blowpipes and Milans to get into position. However, these blowpipes, Milans and Green Jackets are advancing unsupported, so any really concerted effort by the enemy to push up or hit them with artillery is going to be effective, especially seeing as this is infantry in light cover, or no cover frankly. So the next enemy artillery barrage that comes in is going to cause a lot of damage. Now that ADATs did get away, one of the ADATs there, however, getting knocked out. Ooh. Artillery. This Conker's escaping from the Green Jackets just about. And GDAlley here really calling it more rapiers and ADATs. I'm not sure why. I think we both got a little bit too trigger happy with the AA. These Challenger Mark 1 and Mark 2 is really needing to move forward. He did say on the chat what he was going to do is try and build up layers of defence, but really at this point he doesn't have room for it. If he wanted to do layered defence, he needs his tanks kind of further forward, and then here, if he wants to defend this area, put Milans and blowpipes all through here. Now you can see my M1A2 Abrams is just sitting there. My Nighthawk is going to come in and go for a strike. Now the Nighthawk had a first strike where it killed a 50-point Strela, and then it had a second strike where it hit there and killed nothing because the enemy simply moved. And here it's going to launch a strike at what I thought was the Setsnaz, but really all that was left there was my poor old four guys in Delta Force squad who just got killed by my own stuff, and the Cessna's getting away with only one loss from that artillery barrage. Now this is frustrating. So you can see this Su-27M here hitting my M1A2 Abrams and destroying it with the first shot. Now that is a TV guidance missile, and it's a big one as well, and it's an expensive aircraft. However, that is 180 points of tank, and I really would not have expected it to die on the first shot. But looking at it now, it was a hit directly to the side armour, and my M1097 Avengers, which I was hoping would protect it, needed to be there, where they would have been quite useful. However, they were not, and we see now the game is over, ending with GDAlley sending in a big helicopter wave, which just got shot down. So shout out to Smith and Bacon, who did a stunning job, and it was a really enjoyable game, and I hope to see you guys on the next one. Bye.